Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Artist Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Goslow, and today's topic is finding your creative genius. As a creative person, I know what it's like to have a lot of desires and interests and a lot of things I like to get into. I continually feel like I'm expanding my skills and trying out new things and growing as a result. And I personally pride my own artistry on versatility and having a lot of experience in a lot of different areas and different human experiences. And I certainly think that that's a very important, very good for an artistic being of any type. At the same time, I think that it's important, and I've certainly seen it for myself, to find your creative genius. And there's lots of reasons for this, but let me go into what I think are the most important, or the ones that come to mind. First of all, when you find your creative genius, your time is naturally most well spent. Here's a couple of different things I've picked up over the years. One is at some point recently I read someone was writing about, and I don't remember exactly where, but the idea that when you are being of service in the marketplace, the ideal is for you to have three conditions, for your service to accommodate these three things. First of all, that you are using the skills that you're best at. Secondly, that you are doing something that you have a lot of desire for and that you really love. And third, that you're doing something and providing a service that people want. That combination is the holy grail of prosperity in my eyes, because it's all of the very best things. It's your desire, your skill, and other people's desire. So, and this definitely relates to this topic, because when you find your creative genius, I hope that it would accommodate and satisfy all three of those things. Another way to look at this idea is something called Pareto's principle. It might be pronounced Pareto, I'm not sure, but also known as the 80-20 rule. It's very common in sort of personal development, like business and personal productivity type literature. So the idea 80-20 rule, that there's this idea that 20% of your actions will produce 80% of the results. Now that could be applied in anything in life, in your daily schedule, your how you run your business, the services you provide. It could be anything you want to apply it to. But it's this interesting model that's saying, it's not only saying that, but also saying that the other 80% is only producing 20% of the results. Now, I don't know that we need to try to quantify this or prove it or something, but it's just making a point. To my mind, it's saying that there are things that you will do which will produce 80% or the vast majority of the good for you, the results. And I've had numerous years to think about this idea after being exposed to it, and I've thought about, well, what's my 20%? And I think that 20% is what we are talking about here. When you find your creative genius, you are tapping into the thing that you can do, or the actions you can do, and who you can be that produces the most result the most easily. Case in point for me, obviously in my career and my income has almost always been tied to piano playing of some sort, whether it's piano teaching or performing, and or even teaching while also performing. So those, or obviously putting out piano music and selling that. And so piano playing has been the superpower, if you will, that has powered the engine called Chris. professionally. And what a blessing that it does. And I'm so grateful that it does. It's also the thing that probably other people who know me first think of when they think of my skills. And so that's why I say that without any, it's not a bragging situation. It's just true. People know this about me, and that's how I stand out, because I have that skill and I use it in many different ways. Obviously, I have other creative skills, but I know that when push comes to shove, if I had to rely on one of them, piano playing is the thing. And so, like I started out by saying, I think engaging a lot of creative acts is a great way to enrich your life. And certainly I do a lot of that. I'm doing this podcast, and I write, and I write lyrics, and I write a blog, and I'm speaking to you now, and I teach, and I make good French fries. Hey, these are all part of a rich life. But right now I want to focus on this idea of tapping into your unique creative genius. There's a lot of benefits to that. Like I've been already talking about, you can hone your efforts, hone your time, and frankly, it will make you the most money the most easily. That's my hypothesis today. Because when you're really good at it, you're likely to love it, you're likely to do it easily. And as I worked with a business mentor, and she said, your genius is the thing to market, the thing you are so good at that you take it for granted. That's your marketable skill. Charge for that. And why not? Because that's the thing that you don't even think about. And if you take a moment and write out your greatest strengths, then I'm sure there's something in there in which you excel, you stand out. As an artist, no doubt it's your art. It could be a couple of different arts, different creative expressions, but also there are many artists who excel in other skills related to their art. Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's sales, maybe it's networking, maybe it's simply just getting along with people. These, of course, can easily become a career in themselves. Your passion for arts may be the best expressed by being an artist manager or an art curator of an art gallery, for example. Or maybe if you're just if you have this great love of the arts and creativity and getting people together and have a really good role in sort of the leading chair. Maybe you're film directing is your thing, or theater directing. There's if your primary skill, you look at that, your primary enthusiasm, your primary skill, and the thing that people say about you if you were to ask them, what do they notice about you? And we all have some stripe of that. And I think that's the main point I'm trying to make here. Sometimes we don't realize it. And I want you to look at how you can realize and examine what makes you fabulous. Of course, as a person, we all have all kinds of personal traits that make us fabulous, and we are multifaceted beings. But I'm probably thinking about in the kind of career development and professional skills area. What is it you do better than anybody in your town or just about, if not in your region or your state or your country or the world? That is where you want to look, because you probably have something if you're listening to this and you're a creative. So to kind of summarize and get you thinking further, here are some questions to consider. As I already said, what do you do better than anyone else you know? That might be your creative genius. Another question, what do people say that you are amazing at? Look there. And yes, you may take that for granted. A lot of people do. We don't always listen to other people, but I'm suggesting that you look at that. And if you don't know, ask someone else what you are seen as doing really well. Another question, what do you most love to do in all the world? What comes easy to you? What do you think you're really good at? Be honest. Where do you excel? Some people excel behind the scenes. Some people excel right at the center of the attention. Some people excel booking the show. Of course, I'm using a show analogy here because I'm a performer. Some people excel at filling the seats. Some people excel at writing the play that gets performed. Some people excel obviously in multiple ways here. You might have multiple creative strong suits, but what is that? Obviously, some people are great, artists who work by themselves and create beautiful works of art. And some people are performance artists who create their artistry in real time in front of huge crowds. That's a certain personality too. What is your truth? And what is your truest authentic expression? What do you do without even having to think about it? What have people stopped you and said, wow, you're amazing at that? And you say to yourself, well, it's nothing. That's just what I do. Some people are great at sales. Some people are great at making friends. Some people are great at painting or writing a story or telling a good story in a campfire or at a party. Some people are great at jokes. Some people are great at party tricks or juggling or magic. Some people are great as performers, But there's so many nuances. There's so many niches. There's so many ways to be of service. How can you hone your service and your focus to optimize what makes you special? And I know you have an answer. And I don't know what that is. And maybe the other people around you do or don't yet know what may be inside of you. And if they know you and they know your skills, like I'm saying, they will probably know some of these things. But sometimes we have to do some digging because it may be that you haven't let out your primary skill. That's the other thing. What have you always longed for? What have you always longed to be that you haven't let yourself? Maybe your skill is there. What is your shadow life that you wish you could pursue? Because if you have that strong desire to do something, I'm telling you, I know from firsthand experience, it will tend to make you better at it. If it helps, do some journaling. Write it out. Make notes. Write out your thoughts. If it helps, go and ask your friends, ask your family, ask people you trust to give you an honest and balanced opinion. Anyway, I just want to say it's so important to hone in to find what really fits for us. It may not be a huge, obvious, exciting superpower, but that doesn't really matter. If it feels right for you, you're going to be happier with it. I think it's better to pick something you love so much that you can do it for your whole life. That's a good find. We might have a cool enthusiasm or passion. We might not always be a red hot blazing passion, but if you have an enduring enthusiasm and joy for something, you're probably going to stick to it and probably get really good at it. That's the nature of this whole thing. The things that we can commit to, the things that we want to stick around for, the things that we want to pay attention to ongoingly, those are the things we tend to be good at, the things we tend to get good at. And therein will often lie your genius, because you have cared enough to spend the time to gain expertise in something. With enough passion and desire, your initial enthusiasm will translate into knowledge, and that knowledge will eventually translate into expertise. And when you're an expert at something, you have something to offer. And even when you're not an expert, but especially when you're at that point, you have a sort of superpower that can carry you and give you so many opportunities. So I hope this discussion has been helpful and interesting. Feel free to give me a note, contact me, let me know what you think. I love reaching out to other creatives. Obviously, I love to talk about what I think are helpful ideas to help others, and I hope this has helped you. Okay, I'm going to now take a moment like I did last week, and I'm going to be playing a little music for you, but today I'm going to do something a little different. this is the Sunday before Halloween, so I thought it would be fun just to do a little improvising for you with a Halloween theme. So this is going to be, of course, my version at the piano of sort of maybe scary or spooky music. A little backstory, I've started to work with a comedy troupe doing improvised musical comedy, and so we spend we perform here in Sacramento, and we create a musical spontaneously in front of other people. And we were doing this a couple of days ago on Friday, and there was one point when I was playing some very dramatic music, and so I used some of the devices you're about to hear to create some of that dramatic feel. And I thought, hey, this could be a cool thing for the podcast. So without further ado, here is the Sunday night spooky Hallows Eve improv. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I never know exactly where it's all going to go, but I had fun. Hope you did too. And I just want to say that every single day I feel personally the impact of finding what I'm good at and enjoying the fruits of that. Teaching piano, going and performing. In this case, even, improvising for comedians. And, that's part of my genius. And I say that with humility and understanding that there's always more to learn. And I love to learn. And it's not about ego. It's just about understanding that I have gifts. You could call them God-given gifts or whatever you want to call them. And I've also honed gifts in all the ways and for all the reasons that I have been discussing. And you can too. And I know you have already, and you can go further. So I hope this discussion has been helpful. And I just want to say it's so great that you listened to this episode. Feel free to drop me a message. Let me know what you think. And by the way, Happy Halloween, wherever you are in the world. Hope you have a great one. Until next time, this is the Artist Mindset Podcast. Thank you for